Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, we're going to be answering the question, why is Zoroark GX absolutely wrecking Japanese Pokemon TCG tournaments? And this isn't one of those where I'm exaggerating, although I like to think I'm always fairly fair. When I say wrecking Japanese tournaments, I mean that in last month's Yokohama Regionals, Zoroark GX was featured, I would say prominently featured, in 15 of the top 16 decks. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not saying Zoroark is a good card like Gardevoir and Metagross are good cards, in that they're, good decks which are quite often seeing a bit of success. No, ladies and gentlemen. Zoroark GX is a good card, like Shaymin was a good card, and still is and expanded, like Tapu Lele is a good card, and now, I should point out at this stage that I have not been to Japan in the recent past, or indeed ever, but of course, friend of the show Antoine Boulet, who is, as we all know, a lovely man, has been hooking me up with information, and he tells me that in Japan, the most expensive cards are listed as thus. Obviously, we're talking the Rainbow Rare versions here. We got Lele, Shaymin, Zoroark GX. So it really is up there with Tapu Lele as a ridiculously good card. But of course, it's not like Tapu Lele, because Tapu Lele, basic Pokemon, colourless energy, brilliant ability, let's just chuck 1 to 4 in every single deck we ever play. No, ladies and gentlemen, Zoroark GX is a little bit different. It's also a much better attacker than Tapu Lele, while also having a slightly less adaptable ability, and we do need to remember that it is a stage 1 rather than a basic. Now at this stage we should have a very quick reminder of Zoroark GX, although I have done a video where I look at this in detail, check the link in the description. But essentially here we've got the ability trade. And while we're here, huge shout out to Ryan Raldak, who hooked me up with English scans of these cards on Twitter. He is also a lovely man. Once during your turn, you may discard a card from your hand and draw 2 cards. That means you can discard a card to, fuel Aqua Patch in water decks, or in Expanded, you can discard a Night Marcher, etc. More on Expanded in a moment, but you get to draw 2 cards. This was great on Empoleon, but Empoleon was a stage 2 that attacked for water energy, meaning that it was not as techable as the lovely Zoroark that we have here, ladies and gentlemen. Zoroark is better. Then we've got the attack, and the attack is a little bit dumb. Double colourless energy, which means it can be played in any deck whatsoever. 20 damage for each Pokemon in play. Sounds like Generations Raichu, but remember, that is 20 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. This is for all of your Pokemon in play. It includes the active. Full bench 120. That's very nice. Now, Trickster GX is fine. 2 Dark Energy, copy the attack of any Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field. I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, this is not why Zoroark is so good. In Dark decks it will see play, but it's not why we play the card. No, ladies and gentlemen, it is a combination of trade and the wonderfully named Righteous Beating. So, in Japan, they are playing a slightly different format. They are actually playing X and Y onwards, whereas we are currently playing Breakthrough onwards. Is that a bad thing? No, ladies and gentlemen. No, it is not. Now, in terms of the 15 of the top 16 decks in Japan, having Zoroark GX in, they basically fit down into 3 archetypes. First one, Zoroark with Lycanroc GX. Now this makes perfect sense. You need to be filling up your bench. Oh yeah, I said Japan are playing X and Y on? Yeah, they have Skyfield, ladies and gentlemen. So they can actually have 8 bench Pokemon, 9 Pokemon in total. That's 180 for a double colourless energy. Before you even build in something like a Choice Band, it is quite frankly a little bit overpowered. But hey ho, we'll talk about Standard and why it's still amazing in a moment. So what you do is you play Lycanroc, and it's basically got a Lysander as an ability. You've got to fill up your bench anyway. Why would you not fill up your bench with Lycanroc GX to take advantage of Zoroark? Oh yeah. Now, Antoine does give me a little bit of extra information about these decks here. It does often include an Alolan Muck line to deal with both Volcanion and SOOOOO. Now, obviously, SOOOOO is an amazing tech here because it limits you to 4 bench spots, which means it limits you to 80 damage. That's not a particularly good thing. So what you do is you play Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck's got a great ability, which means that no basic Pokemon can have abilities. Now, you will be shutting off things like Tapu Lele and an expanded Shaymin, which is nice, but you'll also be turning off SOOOOO and Volcanion, and without Steam Up, Volcanion decks, basically, you need a Ho-Oh with a Choice Band to KO a Zoroark. That is a difficult thing to pull off. So, very nice here in that you can get rid of the Volcanion Steam-Ups and you get rid of SOOOOO, but you keep Zoroark's ability because Zoroark is a Stage 1. We also see a lot of people playing Zoroark with Night March. Again, this goes back to Japan playing X and Y onward, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, in Expanded, this will still work. And it's very simple. You take your average Night March deck, you take out Acrobike, and you put in a 1-1 or 2-2 line of Zoroark GX. Simple as that. You no longer need Oranguru, which a lot of people are playing in Night March. You no longer need Acrobike, which means you're less reliant on items, which means item lock from stuff like Seismitoad will be less of an issue. And Zoroark here can discard a Night Marcher to fuel your Night March attack while drawing you 2 cards in the process. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a wonderfully, wonderfully efficient use of your resources. It not only helps you draw cards, it also gets Night Marchers into the discard. It means you're way less reliant on items and way less susceptible, therefore, to item lock. Because you can always just discard a card and draw 2, whereas with Oranguru, if you've got 3 or more cards in hand, you can't go and draw any cards. And then there's a list that won in Japan, in Yokohama, very recently. I might do a deck analysis of this if there is enough interest for it, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. But this was a very odd list, and here's what's really exciting. It didn't play Skyfield. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a list of Zoroark that won a huge tournament in Japan that didn't even play Skyfield. Although, to be fair, it did play Dimension Valley, which is also rotated out of our standard format. So what it was, it played a 3-2 Zoroark GX line, and it played a bunch of psychic attackers. Necrozma GX primarily played for Black Ray GX here. Double colourless energy with a Dimension Valley means that you can then just do 100 to all EXs and GXs on your opponent's side of the field, which then brings them all down to 120 HP remaining or less, in theory. Or indeed, even something like Metagross, okay, they come down to 150, but with a Choice Band you're doing 150, so you're fine. Which means that after using Black Ray GX, Zoroark GX will be one-hit KOing everything on their side of the field, which is pretty nice. Now, I know we don't have Dimension Valley in Standard, but you could always just play it with Max Elixir. If you're playing multiple Zoroark, your deck is going to be consistent because you're going to be drawing a whole bunch of cards. And then there were a whole bunch of one-off Pokemon like Wobbuffet from Generations, which of course is great because it blocks abilities of non-psychic Pokemon. Yes, I know it blocks your abilities too, especially Zoroark, but then again, for 1 Psychic Energy, 1 Colourless, or 1 Psychic with a Dimension Valley, 10 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active. And if they've all got 100 on them after Black Ray GX, that's going to add up pretty gosh darned quickly. We also see Alolan Vulpix to draw a whole bunch of cards, or a Choreo for the Supernatural Dance attack, which is better against stuff like Night March, admittedly. Something that puts a whole bunch of Pokemon in the discard can be punished with this. SOOOOO for the Mirror Match and for Mega Rayquaza. Mimikyu, which of course has the brilliant Copycat attack, which then allows you to just use an attack your opponent used the previous turn. Again, in a Zoroark Mirror, this is going to be really, really good. And it's just a Psychic Colourless or 1 Psychic with Dimension Valley in play. And the last card they played, and this one's a little bit weird, Genesect or should I say, Shining Genesect from Shining Legends. The theory here is extremely simple. Lots of people are playing Lycanroc, so here, Energy Reload allows you to move a grass energy from one of your other Pokemon to this one. Once a rainbow energy is attached to a Pokemon, it counts as grass. So as long as you've got a rainbow energy on the field, you use Shining Genesect to move the energy onto you. You attach a double colourless and you'll be playing 4 of those for Zoroark. With a choice band, you're then hitting 100, which will double with weakness and KO a Lycanroc with a non-GX Pokemon. And the great thing about this is you can drop it as a surprise. Drop it, DCE choice band, move the rainbow, and off you go. A fun use for Shining Genesect, to be absolutely sure. Yeah, this deck looks a little bit clunky, and you know what? It seems to be. It is quite reliant on Dimension Valley, but if nothing else, a deck to look for in Expanded. But that doesn't mean Zoroark is terrible in Standard. The ability is phenomenal. The attack is about as efficient as you can possibly get. And the fact that it's only using double colourless means that there are approximately 20 million different decks you can make with Zoroark GX. Now, I'll happily go into some of these in the near future, but you're going to have to let me know what Zoroark decks you would like me to talk about by letting me know in the comments. But just in case Zoroark GX is not being hyped up enough, I think that Japan is showing us where to go. In Japan, there is no question, it is a phenomenal card right up there with Shaymin and Tapu Lele. Maybe it won't be in North America and Europe. I think it probably will. But like I said, let me know in the comments. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. That's where the live action happens. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.